Hello, there you are. We've just had the lunchtime news, and Boris is seen pitching his new police and prison initiative because obviously Priti Patel is not ready for the cameras. But instead, Boris is pilloried by the press with questions about the ghost of Christmas party past. And you know, this whole thing is just dominating any sort of political debate at the moment. It's interesting because it's not something that is being pushed by all the newspapers. Now, why not? Maybe because a lot of the political journalists, a lot of the lobby journalists, those journalists who are constantly at Westminster, were at some of these parties. And so would probably want to put a damper on any speculation because they are also involved. And this seems to me to be very different to the Barnard Castle episode. So we can understand why Dominic Cummings would be mouthing off about the Christmas parties and the ghosts of Christmas parties past, because he was not there. I'm sure he's wringing his hands in misery that he wasn't invited. And what are we've got a range of excuses. On the one hand, we've got people saying there was no party. On the other hand, we've got Kit Malthouse saying he knows nothing and I'm not an investigator. This is absurd. Completely absurd. If you represent the government on a radio programme, then it's your job to answer the questions. And Raab, who says, who said to Andrew Marr, well, the police do not investigate alleged crimes that take place over a year ago. That's complete rot. As I think the MP Wes Streeting has pointed out, because one of his constituents, a man in Ilford, is at the moment facing a court case for having a gathering of 2 or 3 people that was held in his house on that day, on the very day that Boris is alleged to have had his parties in number 10. And finally, the other excuse which is put forward is the line that Boris was taking today, we abided by the rules. No rules were broken. When a silly story takes over the news and obliterates any other business, it's time to ask what is going wrong. And what we're getting again and again and again are the silly stories taking over any real activity. It's rather like the Matt Hancock business. There came a point in Matt Hancock's career when he just had to go because the silly stories about him in the stationery cupboard had taken over any other discussion. Similarly, the silly stories about the education secretary. I even forget his name. Gavin someone. Go Gavin, go, and Priti Patel. There just comes a point when, if all you can do when you think of the Home Secretary is another episode of Doctor Who, there's a point where you have to say this minister is not doing her job. This minister needs to be replaced. And I think there needs to be a night of long knives in the Conservative Party, a night of long knives in the government. It is time for serious change if we want to do something serious. Not often would I echo Mr. Macron, but we can't continue to have a government which is dominated by people who cannot be taken seriously. And Mr. Raab is right up there with the worst of them. Mr. Raab. He looks at you, doesn't he? He looks at you rather like a sort of clown caught in the headlights. Anyway, please do follow the channel Number 10, number 10. Let's slap it on. Do follow the channel and do ring the bell. And if you've got any extra comments, please add them. So excited to hear what you've got to say. Bye-bye.